6th. We're good.
That's okay.
So I looked over.
Yeah, not bad.
I looked over today, but
Right.
No complaints.
Mark votes, but I don't.
So when's your next exciting vacation?
Yes,
Yeah, you-
correct.
yeah, you
Mark
do.
votes, but I don't.
No,
Yeah,
you
you
do
do.
too.
You do.
Oh, yeah,
You do.
he just doesn't.
Park board, I don't.
Oh, I live,
Yeah.
we have a tree.
Every other board we don't, but
This one you do.
yeah.
That's when you do.
Call the Planning and Zoning Commission meeting to order for Monday, July 8th, 2019. Roll call, please.
Samantha Surdy-Wacker, Chuck Watson,
Here.
John Borgman,
Here?
Jeff Petke,
Here.
Tom Holtmeyer,
Here.
Mark Piontek,
Here.
Mark Pleisner, Mark Hydrich,
Here?
Kellen Witt,
Here.
Tony Goldenbach,
Here.
Sal
Please. Here. Please rise for your Pledge of
Yeah,
Allegiance.
right. Wait, real name. That's a-
First item on the agenda is the approval of the minutes from the May 13th meeting. You'd had a chance to review those. I'll entertain a motion.
So moved.
Second?
First and a second. All those in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? So moved. Moving on to item number 3, file number 190701. Tyann Marchink,
I don't
I
know.
hope that's correct. Marsink? Okay. Sorry about that. The applicant is requesting a special use permit for a short-term rental located at 1518 Riverview Drive. Sal?
Yes, so like you said, this is a request for short-term rental, more commonly known as an Airbnb or VRBO at 1518 Riverview. You can see on the aerial here, here is the subject property in question. When this was originally platted, there must have been some plan for that road to curve in like that. I'm not really sure why it was platted that way and why it was constructed separately. This is not a new enough subdivision where we have the as-built in City Hall, but that's just why you see on the plat, apparently it was originally platted that way. But as for the use itself, the property is zoned residential as well as the surrounding properties. You can see here on the zoning map, it's all R1B, single-family residential, which is our higher density single-family zoning. Mostly everything on the north side of Fifth Street is that R1B. Per usual, when we get these requests, with our recommendation, Airbnbs create minimal traffic. They're pretty low-frequency use and does not create a commercial activity that should detriment the surrounding properties. So we are recommending approval of this. And in this case, as you can see, this one actually does have some off-street parking, which is not a requirement for this, but is always an added bonus for the neighborhood if they can have guests park in the driveway rather than on street. So we are recommending approval. One policy change that we had, it was always something we kind of did internally, now we have it more in writing with our occupancy. For the inspection process, when they, and as we have been doing, when they get this permit, they do have to sign up for their business license and schedule an occupancy inspection because there are a couple extra conditions that have to be done when you do a short-term lodging. It's basically the same occupancy inspection as residential, but there's an exit light and some fire extinguishers, I think, are the two things that have to be present and shown out in the open. And then we did have it now in writing for our policy. When they come in to renew their business license annually, they get that inspection redone annually. And that's to ensure that there was no bedrooms added or the exit light wasn't taken down and that sort of thing. So that was one thing that was kind of miscommunication between the business license department and the building inspector, which has been cleared up in the last few months. So just wanted to throw that out there because I know that normally comes up at this meeting.
Thank you.
Any questions or comments of board? Anyone in the audience that would like to speak?
We would like to speak collectively.
Well, yeah,
Get the applicant.
yeah, we would like, is the applicant, would you like to speak first? Okay. Please introduce yourself and your address. If you would.
My name is Mark Wood. I live at 1513 First Parkway, and my backyard backs up to the backyard of the property in question,
Can you point on the map, are you the one behind then directly?
right in back.
Okay, I just want to make sure we're clear on where you are.
Sure. Our backyards are just right together there.
Okay.
And my family has owned this property for 70 years now. And I grew up in this neighborhood. It was Houseman subdivision. I can remember when most of these homes were built. And of course, it is a residential subdivision, and we have a lot of families, and we have a lot of new families that have moved in. And years ago, this was the prime subdivision in Washington. When I lived there in the 1950s, you know, when I grew up, this is where people built their homes. We had a lot of doctors and lawyers and professional people, and my teachers lived on the street. And it's a beautiful, beautiful neighborhood. And everybody takes pride in their homes and yards. And I just don't feel like this is the right fit for our neighborhood. There's no businesses around us. And basically, you're putting a business in our backyard right down the hill from me. It's like having a small hotel. They're going to come and go. And we would really like to not see this happen in our neighborhood. I know there's lots of places in town where you have these, and I'm sure they fit in well, but I just don't think in our residential neighborhood that we need something like this. And I want to thank you all for what you do for the city. Thank you very much, and thank you.
Thank you. Anyone else? Just come on up, introduce yourself.
I'm Mary Bell Bisher, and I live in the corner house of East Lane and Riverview Drive.
So the one next to the property?
Yes. And that lot that's there is ours. And granted, you don't see a whole lot, but we do have a couple dogs that walk over there. And I did not become familiar with the last renters, and it was difficult because you question some things that you saw. Even though we don't keep a lot of social contact within this group, we still feel like we kind of know our neighbors and who's coming and going and this sort of thing. And in fact, last week, we had a neighbor call and say, your car is alarm sounding. So we checked it out. Sometimes we check out when the dogs are barking, because last month we had a couple neighbors that did have their car gone through. The thing that bothers me also is that it's a wooded area across the street, that there would be easy access for anybody to come and go, and you wouldn't know it. Whereas if there were houses there, you'd have more eyes available. But that's not the case in this location. So I do not like the idea of a short-term rental.
How long have you lived at that location?
How long have I lived there?
Yes.
1975 or 6.
Okay, thank you.
My name is Nancy Anderson, and I live on First Parkway. We've lived there for 25 years. And-
Ma'am, can you see your residence on the map here?
It would be across the street. I can't tell.
Okay, so yours is on the
I don't
opposite-
recognize my roof.
Yours is on the okay, so somewhere on the opposite side of First Parkway is where your residence would be, probably off the bottom left corner of the map somewhere?
Right.
Okay.
We have lived here for 25 years. We moved here from St. Louis, Missouri. No regrets. We really like Washington. But we feel like our neighborhood is losing some of its integrity. And that doesn't happen overnight. It's a gradual decline of inattention to just not paying attention to ordinances and letting things slide. Doesn't happen overnight. We've been through 2 declines in neighborhoods. We have a shooting range that's going to be in our neighborhood now, which brings down, according to Realtor.com, 3.7% of interest of our house decline. According to Realtor.com, high renter concentration is a 13.8 decline in value of your home. So I feel like we're losing the integrity of our neighborhood. It should be based on the pride of ownership and not on revenue. And I think we feel this way collectively. We've got a very strong community neighborhood, and we want to keep it that way. And we also are having a public forum, since we didn't get to attend the shooting range because we didn't know about it. If anybody would be interested in attending, we have flyers. Thank you.
Thanks. Anyone else?
My name's Tyann Marsink. I'm the one who would be managing the short-term rental. It's owned by Steve White and Diana Tyler. I am been here my whole life. I manage several rentals, short-term rentals in the Franklin County and Warren County area as well. So Union, Villa Ridge, and Marthasville, as well as St. Charles. And then I have some in Branson too. So I have been doing this for 13 years now. The biggest thing is I don't want to tear apart a neighborhood at all. And this would be residential activity. The guests are people coming into the area to attend a family wedding or friends of a family, folks coming into Purina Farms to compete, so bringing show dogs with them, folks that are attending family reunions in the area. Those are the type of guests that are coming in. So people coming in 2 nights up to 7 nights. It is short term, and it's also families. So when you travel with your family, you travel with your kids, it's really hard to stay in a hotel, and especially if you have dogs as well. So that's my main target guest, is a family with small kids or group of adults coming in for a wedding. Could be families, could be brothers, sisters, things like that. And they might have a dog or 2 as well, especially if they're competing in Purina Farms. I know noise is a real big concern for people, and one of the things I do is I put in something called the Noise Aware. It's like a smoke alarm, but for noise. And what happens, I set it at the decibel level. So if you get any louder than 70 decibels, which is regular dinner party level, after 10 o'clock, I get an alert. And I let my guests know, hey, you know what, I'm glad you're enjoying yourself, but you're being too loud, please bring it down. And every single time it's happened has been within 5 minutes. Noise has gone. I don't want to disturb anybody. And there's both an indoor sensor and an outdoor sensor as well. So you can be, they can be outside. If they're being too loud, I can immediately let my guests know, hey, you guys are being too loud, time to move it inside, time to quiet down.
Questions,
for me?
comments?
Before filing the application, did you or the property owner speak with the residents in the neighborhood?
The property owner, she said she spoke with her direct neighbors right next to her.
Okay.
Yeah.
And the property owner does not live in this area?
She is here, Diana, so I'll let her come up next.
Okay. The address on there was in California. That's why I wasn't sure
Yes,
if the property owner was
it's owned by her
local.
and Steve's in California.
Okay. What makes this property desirable for this purpose?
One, it's got the right number of bedrooms and bathroom configurations. I know Steve and Diana were also attempting to sell the property and it wasn't working out. And instead of losing money, they would like to be able to, take care of the property and move forward with it. One of the good benefits of a short-term rental too is it's very highly maintained as far as the exterior and the curb appeal. Versus if you were to turn it into a long-term rental, then as you guys know, you're dependent upon your renters to take care of the property, and sometimes there's issues with that as well. A short-term rental definitely be taken care of as if somebody was living there full-time, because me having a good rating and guests wanting to come back, it depends on my reviews, and guests can be pretty harsh on the reviews if you're not taking care of a property. So it'll be very well-maintained for sure. Another good thing is it's close to the hospital. So families coming in to visit folks at the hospital, families coming in to visit the residents. So you have the in-home residents, the older generation. Very great location to wedding venues, as well as the bridge to get across to the wineries. And I mean, I've had some guests even come as far out to Union and Marthasville, and they're visiting Herman as well. So all around, it's a really great location with it being close to the highways and the hospital.
Do you manage any other similar uses in this neighborhood or within, let's say, a mile of this neighborhood?
This would be my first in Washington.
Okay.
Yes.
Are you aware of any other similar uses to this within, I would say, within a mile of this property?
Yes, there are several.
Where are the closest ones to this property?
It's a little one-bedroom closer to the hospital. I don't know the exact street address.
Okay.
There is one on East First and there's one on East Third. I don't have the addresses in front of me, but we have had, just in the past year, both of those approved as special use permits.
And those are on the other side of Highway 47, right? They're
No.
to,
We had them here. They're on the east side
okay,
of
I'm
47.
trying to remember which ones they, because I'm thinking.
Yeah, east side.
East side
Okay.
of 47.
Okay.
Yeah.
I have a question. Is
Yes.
the house being lived in now?
I think Diana, are you still in it? Yes, she is.
Okay, because I was a little surprised when I drove by it today, how it looked in comparison to the rest of the homes in the neighborhood. When you mentioned the maintenance and the upkeep and everything,
Yep.
it kind of stood out to me that it wasn't being taken care of very good.
Right. It's in transition right now.
And, you know, to me, if I went on Airbnb, was looking for a place to stay, and I saw a picture of that house, I wouldn't stay there
Oh, I agree completely.
because it needs some work.
Yep. And that's one of the things Diana is working on right now while we're waiting to get the permit. So it will not be ready to be listed for another month or so.
I would just like to see what it's going to look like when it's finished, as opposed to approving something before we know what it's going to look like when
Sure.
it's done.
I mean, what I can do is you can actually look at my website and look at my other homes to see somewhat what the interior would look like. But as far as the outside, she's still got some work to do.
Okay,
And
thank you.
I can also, whether it's short-term lodging or traditional single-family, they still have to meet property maintenance code. So if that is a case, and if that is a complaint, that's something that can be handled whether it has a special use permit or not.
Any other questions, comments by board?
Do you have an estimation on what percentage of the neighborhood is renter occupied versus owner occupied?
I do not know.
Okay.
No other questions or comments? Thanks.
You're welcome.
Anyone else that would like to speak? Come on up.
My name's David Anderson. I live at 1516 First Parkway.
Okay, show us where that is in relation to this property.
It is actually, if you see the White House that's outlined, go straight down from there. You've got one that has a gray roof and the one that has the cars parked next to it. I live directly across the street from the one with the
Okay.
park, where the cars are parked.
Okay, thank you.
Okay. One of the things that has been brought up and brought to our attention is that they wanted to use this, as the lady was speaking, for people to go to Purina Farms. There's no fence in this property for dogs. So why will we bringing dogs into an area when you know they have to go outside? There's no place to put them. Another question is, there's a common ground across the street from there. We all use it. We all have dogs. Everybody makes sure that they clean up after their dogs. It is our area. We try to take care of our area. Is this going to be done with these people? You have no idea. We don't either. I belonged to Purina Farms for a while. We actually showed our dogs. And I have to admit that a lot of the people that were there showing their dogs didn't take care of their dogs. So I would be really leery about that personally. And I would believe if everything goes through, which I hope it does not, there needs to be a fence in that area. They're going to be bringing dogs in here that, yes, they are used to being around other dogs, but if you bring Belgian Tervuurens, which I own, if you don't take care of them properly, Belgian Malinois, German Shepherds, those dogs attack other dogs. We've seen it. So we need to make sure that the people that go in there have good responsible for their dogs. And we need a fence in their area to make sure they have some place to keep them. Thank you.
Anyone else?
I'm Diana Tyler. I live in the residence. And I just wanted to address the issue of the way that the home looks. Before I moved into that home, it had been vacant for up to 12 years. So there hadn't been anyone in there. When I first went into this home, the walls were sticky with oil, heat, and nicotine, okay? So the improvements that I have done to this home are pretty incredible, actually, when you consider that I've only been there not yet 2 years. There is an issue. Everyone, they drive by and they say, oh, you know, it needs a new roof. Well, in actuality, it has an industrial roof on it. And yes, it looks ugly. Probably one of the things that I really don't like about the house myself. But what I'm hoping to be able to do is I understand after some research that you can actually paint this, and so with the proper paint, and so that's something I think that will make a big difference in how it appears. As far as the dogs, I do understand about fencing and that type of thing. There is a screened-in sunroom on the side. It needs a little bit of repair, but I think that if it's not large dogs, that should be sufficient. And I do agree. I can't tell you how people are going to treat anything, whether it's my property or the neighborhood. But one thing that I am sure of, and I want you to be sure of, is that I maintain my property very well. And I have somebody come to mow weekly. I think that I've done a pretty good job considering that the property's been empty. I've had the carpet removed from the entire house, and when I say that, I mean it. Bathrooms underneath the sink. I've had the floors refinished and put back to their natural state. So I'm trudging along as I've been working on this, and you know, am by myself, so it's been a little bit of a uphill climb, but I'm trying to make it work. So, but I can guarantee you, I am here in town. I own Vivify Salon Spa. Any of you can come and take a look at it. I take pride in that salon, and I also turned that into a nice space for Bob and Carol Weber. So I'm all about this town. I moved here in '93. I love it here, and I want to make it better any way that I possibly can. So if you have any questions, I'd be glad to answer.
When Ms. Marsink spoke, she said you had spoken with your neighbors before filing the application. Tell
yes.
us about that, please.
I spoke with Sally and Daryl Haddock next door, and they said that they thought that it would be a fine situation. They weren't concerned about it whatsoever.
Are they here tonight?
They are not here tonight. And then I also spoke to my neighbors next door. I didn't speak to the missus, but I spoke to Mr., and I'm so sorry, I'm forgetting your name. Please forgive me. And the reason that I did speak with him is that he lost his dog, and the dog was running around with a leash attached, and I was a little concerned about the owner, but he was nowhere in sight. So what I did was I took the dog and I tethered it to my front porch, and I figured that since I didn't know who it belonged to, that somebody would see it. And then I also messaged on Facebook, anybody missing a dog. Someone did see it and told the owner, and then he came over. And I was I actually confused because when I spoke with him, he said that they actually thought that it would be a wonderful idea. So so maybe I misunderstood, or maybe they have taken a little bit more into consideration the situation.
Any other neighbors that you spoke to?
No, and
Okay.
I haven't. I wasn't sure who all got a notice, and I didn't know necessarily if they appreciate me coming in and knocking on their door since they really don't know me. And also, I I am rehabbing another home right now, as well as working my salon. So I've been incredibly busy.
Any other questions, comments?
Okay, thank you very
And
much.
thank you.
Sal, I have one question for you. And on the site plan, or aerial map, you show the property lines. Is that correct, where the blue trapezoid is?
I would say the shape is correct. I would say the overlay on the aerial is incorrect. That happens often. So a survey we always tell people, like in this case especially, if someone would come in and ask for this aerial, we would tell them don't use this in any official capacity because it's probably overlaid incorrectly. So again, a survey would tell you for sure, but I bet that the house is on its own property and it's not hanging over the line.
Okay.
So.
Come on up.
Again, my name is Mark Wood, and I do live right in back of the property. I can tell you she did spend a lot of money fixing the house up when they bought it. Mr. Schumacher had lived there for years, and he got sick, and he moved to Florida with his one son, and the house sat there empty for a number of years, and they had a contractor there, and they did a lot of work on the house. I have no problem with the house or the white roof. Mr. Schumacher had that put on. He owned the plant right there at the corner of 47 and 3rd Street, across from the hospital that's now an eye doctor. It was a machine shop. Bennett Machine Shop was the name of it. Well, his father-in-law was Mr. Bennett. When he died, Mr. Schumacher got the business, and he had these people put a new roof on his business, and he asked them when they put it on, he said, could you put that on my house? And they said, yeah, we can put it on there. So he had them put it on the house many, many years ago. And he got some comments from some of the neighbors. The white roof doesn't bother me. It just looks like it's got snow on it all the time. And like I said, they did spend a lot of money fixing the house up. I don't have a problem with that at all. I just don't think that a short-term rental fits in the neighborhood, which my family's been in for 70 years now, and I grew up there and watched most of the houses being built, and as a kid played in them, you know, and I just feel very strongly that it's not good for the neighborhood. There's lots of places to have a short-term rental, but thank you.
Thanks. Come on up.
Dan Bisher, I just wanted to address something that your map is correct. However, that is not the legal answer. The line on both sides is actually at a diagonal according to the original filing of the plat. At the time that house was built, the contractor came in and found the 2 pins on the south side of that lot, which is still there, and thinking that common sense would prevail, he assumed that it went all the way directly to the north side, so that it appears that my west line cuts off a corner of the house, which in fact it has done since that house was there. However, all the time that we lived there, and I assume the entire time that Dr. Minch lived there since 1950 to the present time, the owners of that house have always cut the grass up on the side as any commonsensical person would do, and so that the strip should actually be to the north. A direct line as far as the legalities are concerned. So I wouldn't want you to look at that line there and say, oh, it's over the line, so we can't grant that. Because the legalities would be they've used that lot for in excess of 50 years now and have always cut the grass that way. So in my opinion as an attorney, that would be, possession, because I don't think Dr. Minch gave them any permission to. As far as my concern was, nobody ever asked. Dave, had he asked, we would have agreed. There was a cherry tree, a wild cherry tree on the corner, and we used to joke about it, that if it, please don't cut it down, Dave said, because it shades the southeast corner of my house. But of course, if a storm comes and it falls on my house, then it's your tree. So, but in any event, the owners of that property have used the direct line running north from the street to the southeast corner of that property for long enough that that property technically is theirs. I always said, Dave, I'll sign a quitclaim deed anytime you want. I just don't want to go through the hassle of applying to the city for subdividing a lot, because that is, your developer can tell you, is a lot of steps you have to go through. But truth, that's the way it should be, because they've used it for that long. So I just wanted to correct the lines that you see up there. Thank you.
Thank you. Anyone else?
Just a quick note on the comment about the dogs. Anybody who does bring a dog, they do have to pay a fee to bring a dog. So it has to be somebody who really wants to bring a dog. They got to pay extra for it. They also have to sign a rental agreement, every single person, no matter how long they stay. And initially that they will pick up all poo, and they will have their dog on a leash when they walk them. They are not allowed to be roaming free. Otherwise, they can forfeit up to $500. So pretty stiff penalties. I've never had somebody not listen. I do provide poo bags and towels and treats and everything for the dogs that do visit.
Thanks.
Yep.
Thank you. Anyone else? Any other comments, board members? If not, I'll entertain a motion.
Motion to approve.
First.
Second.
Second by Chuck. All those in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed?
Aye.
No.
Will you do a roll call vote, please? Gina?
Samantha Wacker,
No.
Chuck Watson,
Yes.
John Borgman,
No.
Jeff Packey,
Yes.
Tom Holtmeyer,
Yes.
Mark Hydrich,
No.
Kellen Witt,
Yes.
Tony Gokebach,
Yes.
5,
5-3.
5-3.
Yep.
Yep. So it passed. It will go to council.
Yes, on Monday, the 15th. So this is the first of two hearings. The second hearing will be at City Council on this next Monday, week from today.
Right. Thank you
Same
very
format.
much.
It's the same format. So this is a recommendation board. They make a recommendation to council, and we'll see the exact same presentation at council on Monday. Correct, it is. No, no.
If you
just
would,
short-term.
if you would, please come up to the mic so we can get it on the mic. It's a good question.
My name's Mark Thurston. I live at 1502 First Parkway, which is on the east side of the parkway. And so my question is a business license required for a home full-time rental?
No. So it only requires a business license once it turns short-term, because I believe once you have more than 11 nights, you have to report it on your taxes. 30, okay, there you go, 30 nights. So the IRS considers it a source of revenue, which when on its regular rental, we do not consider it a business.
Okay. So there's a meeting next Monday?
Yes.
Okay, so next Monday, I'm going, just as a fair warning, I'm going to bring that up as a potential objection that I have, and I've lived there in my home for over 31 years. And my concern is that, as was indicated in the statement, the desire to have the Airbnb is based on the inability to have sold the home. That's one functioning factor that was mentioned. And because I'm not surprised that that's one of the functioning factors of having the Airbnb, I'm also most concerned about the fact that what we're actually doing is saying it's okay to have a business in what was described originally as a residential neighborhood. And I'm a believer in the slippery slope theory. And if you're familiar with the neighborhood and you look at the neighborhood, if you are familiar and see the changes over the last, in some cases, 70 years, you'll see that the neighborhood is less a neighborhood and more a business environment neighborhood. And I think that that's a mistake. So I'll bring it up next week.
Okay.
Thank you very much.
Thank you. No further discussion. We'll move on to item number 4, file number 190702. Kathy Bledsoe, applicant, is requesting a preliminary plat approval for 4967 and 4971 South Point Road. It's also in relation to item number 5, file number 190703. Kathy Bledsoe, applicant, is requesting rezone for 4967 and 4971 South Point Road from R2 two-family residential to R1C single-family attached. Sal, looks like we're doing another
Yeah, and this
splitting
is
property.
This is the last one on this block of those duplexes outside of Stonecrest that have, we're still in that R2 zoning. As we're all aware, the banks don't allow that when you want to refinance. So you can see here on the zoning map, this actually has not been updated since we lost our GIS tech. But this piece was the one that was just recently built, and then this last piece in the middle is where the subject property is tonight. So just like the rest of the lots in the subdivision, they're just over 6,000 square feet in size. So their preliminary plat and their easements meet the minimum requirements of the requested zoning. And obviously, we recommend approval of zoning because it actually brings it into conformance rather than allowing it in a grandfathered use. So.
Questions or comments by board members?
And actually, one of them's for sale, correct?
Yeah, that's how it triggered it.
Yeah.
But both owners signed off on it, and this was a situation where they were both owners are very aware of how it worked because of the neighborhood. So sometimes it is a little confusing to some people, which I get. So.
Right.
You can come on up if you want. Introduce yourself.
I'm Kathy Bledsoe with Remax Central, and I do have the property at 4971 listed. And in order for this buyer, which we're ready to close, in order for them to get their loan, we do need to change this to lots versus units. So
Right.
we appreciate the help and understanding of the committee.
Okay. Any other questions or comments by board members or anyone else in the audience?
Just for purposes of clarification, when you vote on these, you need to vote on the rezoning first.
Yeah. So we vote on item number 5 first.
Yes.
Okay.
Motion
Questions,
to-
comments?
I'm sorry.
Go ahead. if you want.
Motion to approve the rezoning from
Second.
R2 to R1C.
Second. All those in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? So moved. Any other discussion on item number 4?
Make a motion.
Second.
First and second, all those in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? So moved. Sal, anything else?
That's it.
Okay.
All righty.
Make a motion.
Second.
Second.
All those in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? No. Thank you.
Those people. Straight red. There's no way.
Get a chance to drive by that
I mean,
place.
you feel like, kind of like.
I was kind of surprised it sticks
I
out.
mean, I know.
Really?
I'll tell you the reason I voted no.
I wasn't able to pull up any kind of package.
Yeah, well, you can't really, yeah, but, yeah.
This guy referred his own case. Said the neighborhood is going to be more like a
Yeah.
That's why if you were gonna present something like that, I would think you should
Kind of run out of your
fixed first.
Right.
Yes.
Fix it up and finish it before you get.
Good night, Samantha.
My conversation here is,
You too.
So,
we've now created what we think is best. It's okay to do it here.
Yes.
It's not okay to do it here. It's okay
Yes.
to do it if the neighbors are okay with it, but it's not okay to do it